Picture the scene. You're standing in the dim glow of a casino. The air is thick with tension, part thrill, part desperation. Lights flicker like artificial stars. Machines hum softly. Chips clack like ticking clocks. And somewhere in the distance, someone yells in triumph or defeat. You can't tell which. It doesn't matter. All that matters is this moment. You place your bet, not for the first time. Maybe not even for the 100th. But this time feels different. This time, you tell yourself, you're in control. For a fleeting second, the chaos bends to your will. The wheel spins, the dice roll, the cards fall, and with every passing breath, your heart sinks with the rhythm of uncertainty. Then you win. It hits you like electricity. A rush of blood, fire in your chest, heat in your hands. You feel powerful. Not lucky powerful. Like you cracked the code. Like you reached into the gears of the universe and forced it to obey you. But if this is power, why does it vanish so quickly? Why does it never last? If you were truly in control, why did the high fade as fast as it came? Why are you already thinking about the next round, even as you're collecting your chips? Why does every win feed the hunger instead of satisfying it? There's a cruel elegance to gambling. It packages helplessness as freedom. It disguises surrender as strategy. It feels like you're making choices, but the truth is, the game was never yours to win. And maybe, just maybe, it's not even about the money. Maybe it's about meaning. In a world that flattens you into a consumer, a username, a background process, gambling gives you something sacred, the illusion that your decision matters, that fate is listening, that your existence can tip the scales. But that illusion has teeth. So the deeper question is not, why do we gamble? It's, what part of the human soul longs for the illusion of power more than real freedom? And why are we willing to trade everything for one more chance to feel alive? To answer that, we need to go beneath the surface, beyond the casino, into the very architecture of the human psyche. Beneath the flashing lights and roaring jackpots, gambling isn't just a game, it's a mirror. And what it reflects is something most people would rather not see. A profound psychological void and a spiritual confusion that runs deep in the modern soul. Carl Jung once wrote that all neurosis is a substitute for legitimate suffering. In other words, we create distractions, obsessions, and compulsions like gambling to avoid confronting the emptiness we carry within. Gambling is not about wealth. It is about avoiding powerlessness. It is a ritual to mask the unbearable truth that most of us feel utterly out of control in our daily lives. In a culture obsessed with productivity, perfection, and performance, the average person is stripped of genuine agency. We follow schedules not of our own making. We live inside algorithms, respond to notifications, and measure our value by metrics we didn't choose. And so, gambling becomes the rebellious symbolic stand against the mechanical coldness of modern life. When you place a bet, you're not just risking money. You're staking your identity. You're saying, here I exist. Here I choose. Here I matter. Nietzsche understood this need. He saw that humans don't merely want comfort, they want significance. The will to power he wrote about wasn't just about domination, but the deep urge to assert our existence against the void. Gambling simulates that. It gives you a battlefield small, glittering, seductive, where you can pretend to fight fate and win. But it's a trick. Aldous Huxley warned of a future where people would be so entertained they'd stop caring about freedom. Gambling fits perfectly into that dystopia. It provides an emotional high, a jolt of purpose, while slowly dulling your instincts and eroding your will. And Viktor Frankl, who survived the most dehumanizing conditions imaginable, said that meaning, not pleasure, is what sustains us. Yet in gambling, meaning is replaced with momentary thrill. Purpose is reduced to probability. So we chase odds instead of destiny. We crave risk, not growth. We hunger for control, but only find compulsion. Gambling, then, is not the disease, it is a symptom. A symptom of something much deeper. The modern disconnection from self, from meaning, from any real sense of power. And until we understand what we're really craving, we will keep playing a game we were never meant to win. On the surface, gambling looks like a harmless thrill, an escape, a bit of excitement after a long week. But underneath that glossy surface, something far more insidious is happening, something that reshapes not just how we spend our money, but how we see ourselves, how we interact with risk, and how we define our very existence. The most dangerous part of gambling isn't the loss of cash, it is the slow erosion of clarity. The gambler begins to live in a twilight state where nothing is certain, but everything feels urgent. Decisions become reactive. Time dissolves. The mind loses its grip on cause and effect. Winning feels like destiny. Losing feels like a glitch. And the line between responsibility and luck becomes so blurred that eventually it disappears. Psychologically, this is called variable reinforcement, a mechanism so powerful that it's used not only in slot machines, but in social media, dating apps, and even video games. It's the idea that unpredictable rewards create the strongest addictions. Not knowing when you'll win keeps you playing. It rewires the brain. The dopamine doesn't come from the reward itself, but from the anticipation of maybe getting it. And this anticipation hijacks the same neural circuits associated with love, survival, and purpose. But what happens when your purpose becomes the next hit? You begin to live in cycles of hope and regret. You lose your tolerance for reality. Small, slow victories, like building a career, healing a relationship, or mastering a skill, begin to feel dull and meaningless. Life, in its authentic rhythm, starts to bore you, because nothing can compete with the intensity of gambling's highs and lows. This shift seeps into everything. Relationships suffer because emotional connection isn't as thrilling as risk. Work becomes tedious. Patience erodes. You begin to crave volatility, chaos, chance, even outside the casino. You become addicted to uncertainty itself. And without realizing it, you trade long-term vision for momentary stimulation. Culturally, this is devastating. A society that normalizes gambling as entertainment silently teaches its citizens to believe in shortcuts, luck, and magical outcomes over discipline, intention, and perseverance. It glorifies the big win, not the hard-earned success. And personally, the tragedy is deeper than debt or addiction. It's the slow, quiet death of your inner compass, the loss of your ability to discern what's truly valuable, what's truly powerful, and what truly belongs to you. You begin to mistake the noise for meaning, and the game for life itself. Freedom doesn't begin with abstinence. It begins with truth. And the truth is this: gambling never gave you power. It borrowed it from your mind, your spirit, and your sense of meaning, then sold it back to you in fragments, dressed up as chance. The real rebellion isn't quitting the game. It's seeing through it. To break free, you must first recognize what gambling was always feeding. Not your love of money, but your hunger for control, for chaos, for aliveness. It offered a counterfeit version of all these things, a synthetic soul high designed to bypass the harder, slower work of building a real life. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, the dark, hidden parts of ourselves that we repress. Gambling often comes from that shadow. It is a manifestation of unmet needs, buried trauma, unacknowledged rage, the part of you that says, "I want to matter, and I'll burn everything to feel it." But the shadow is not the enemy. It's the gateway. The part of you that gambled is also the part of you that dares, that reaches, that rebels against deadness. So transform it. Redirect the risk, not into games of chance, but into acts of creation. into building, learning, connecting, changing your body, your craft, your inner world. Choose disciplines that also carry uncertainty, but with meaning at their core. Take back your agency by returning to consequence. In gambling, the stakes are random. In life, the stakes shape you. Let your actions lead to real outcomes. Let your choices build momentum, not loops. Life rewards patience, growth, depth, but only when you stop outsourcing your power to machines and systems designed to make you forget who you are. There is no glory in walking away from the game if you don't walk towards something greater. Don't just replug into something worthy. A purpose, a craft, a struggle that humbles you and makes you whole. Replace the fantasy of sudden wealth with the fire of gradual mastery. And if you must gamble on truth, on facing your fear, on admitting that what you really wanted all along wasn't a jackpot, but a life that couldn't be simulated, cheated, or reduced to chance. A life you could own. Here is the paradox you were never meant to see. The moment you chase power through gambling, you've already surrendered it. Because true power doesn't come from predicting a roulette wheel. It doesn't come from bluffing at a table or watching numbers dance on a screen. That's not power. That's theater. A carefully scripted illusion designed to mimic control while extracting everything real from you. Your attention, your time, your money, your will. The architects of gambling know this. Casinos aren't built on luck. They're built on certainty, but not yours. Theirs. Every light, every sound, every delay in payout, every near win. It is all engineered to keep your nervous system in a loop you think you chose, but didn't it? Real power, on the other hand, is quiet. It doesn't shout over slot machines. It doesn't light up in neon or shower you with chips. It grows slowly, invisibly, through discipline, through saying no, through staying when it's hard, through walking away when you're tempted, through choosing long-term vision over short-term spikes. Power is when you don't need a coin flip to feel alive. And that's the final betrayal. Gambling doesn't just take your money. It conditions you to forget what real aliveness feels like. It teaches you that intensity is the same as meaning, that chaos is the same as purpose, but they are not. They never were. Ask yourself, when was the last time you felt deeply powerful? Not excited, not hyped, but sovereign? Grounded? When was the last time you did something difficult and stuck with it not for a payout, but because it aligned with who you are becoming? That's the moment you remember. You don't need gambling to feel alive. You need meaning. You need connection. You need challenge. You need a life that demands your presence, not just your wagers. So you stop chasing odds. You start building your odds, brick by brick, habit by habit. You reclaim your mind from the flashing screens and bring it back to stillness, to clarity. You realize that the most radical act in a world of distraction is to become fully conscious of your time, your choices, your desires. That's not a thrill. That's power. And once you taste that, you won't go back. Not because you're afraid of losing, but because you've remembered what it feels like to win for real. No dice, no luck. Just you awake, aware, and unshakably alive.